Computer on.
We go for launch.
5.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
4.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
This whole thing is insane.
3.
Quiet, please. I am analyzing.
Where's the kaboom?
2.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
1.
Godzilla!
This is our only chance. We have to take it. We need Kong. The world needs him to stop what's coming. And this child, she's the only one he'll communicate with.
I knew that they had a bond. She had nowhere to go, so I made a promise to protect her. And I think that in some way, Kong did the same. It's Godzilla.
These are dangerous times.
Godzilla's out there and he's hurting people and we don't know why.
There's something provoking him that we're not seeing here.
I'm of the same opinion.
The myths are real. There was a war. And they're the last ones standing.
I keep reaching for greatness because I'm built from it.
Who bows to who?
Nobody gon' stop for me. Here we go.
Kong bows to no one.
Here we go.
Oh, I bet Kong has no chance. I'll toss you. Heads for King Kong. Tails.
Greetings, my fellow galactic travelers, and welcome back to Planet 8. This is your mission commander Larry speaking to you from our hidden base. Chief Engineer Bob is here by my side as always in the command center, and circling Planet 8 in our orbital spy satellite is Reconnaissance Officer Karen.
And on this episode of Planet 8, your intrepid crew has gone on over to HBO Max yet again. This time, we watched King Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus King Kong, depending on which team you pick. Straight away, let's take it to the biggest monster fan that I know, your commander and mine, or your commander, your chief and mine.
I got a promotion.
Yeah, congratulations.
Promotion for this episode.
You've seen it more than I have, and it just came out yesterday, so...
Well, yeah, so Godzilla versus Kong. He still hasn't become king, right? Because he lost the battle. Spoiler alert!
What?
But Godzilla versus Kong, HBO Max, yes. In my household, we all stayed up until 2 in the morning. As soon as it started streaming at midnight, watched the whole thing.
Crazy people.
And I watched it again, leading up to the podcast recording today. And I got 2 theater screenings coming up in the next week, so
nice.
I'm gonna see it a bunch. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was exciting. I still think that Kong Skull Island is probably the best of the legendary MonsterVerse movies. I haven't decided if I'm putting this above or below King of the Monsters, but it definitely, fast-paced, monster action, everything you would want. You probably aren't going to be looking for deep characters, but it's a Godzilla movie, so if you're looking for deep characters in a Godzilla movie, then you'll probably only watch maybe like 2 or 3 of them. If that. But it's a lot of fun, and I thought, everybody did a good job. Adam Wingard, I think, had better pacing than Mike Doherty did on the previous one. I think he fleshed the characters out a little more, although it really depends on your taste in characters. If you like the Scooby-Doo kids foiling the bad guy type plot. I swear, Apex must have like the worst security, because those kids got in there really easy. I guess first off, were you guys Team Godzilla or Team Kong?
Well, go ahead, Karen. Were you?
Well, I'm out. I know I'm outnumbered here. I'm Team Kong. I love apes, and I love the big ape the most. So I was going for Kong.
Team Godzilla.
I know where you guys stand on these things. So
yeah, I mean, the main focus of the movie obviously is Kong.
Yeah,
which was surprising to me because it kind of feels like it should be Godzilla. He gets first billing.
Well,
but
I think the thing with Kong is he has kind of more of a personality. He has intelligence. So, and he also has more of a connection with people.
That came across clearly in the film.
So in order to make the movie interesting, it was probably more interesting to focus on Kong most of the time. And Godzilla is like the threat.
Yeah. I had read an article where one of the stipulations that Toho had was that Godzilla would do little or no emoting, that the emoting would be all Kong. And so they kind of had this dilemma because, Toho feels that he's more of a force of nature than, a combatant. So they snuck it in, I thought, here and there.
Yeah, he had some looks every once in a while, like he did some stuff to Kong, and then he'd give sort of this kind of smirk or something.
Yeah.
I wondered watching the film if they were trying to move Godzilla back to more of the anti-hero, or like you said, force of nature kind of character, rather than being like, oh, he's the Titan that saved us, to being more of like, we don't really know what to expect from Godzilla,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the last 2 movies, though, he never really was Earth's friend. He was going after the Mutos. It just happened that the Mutos were our enemies. And then when Ghidorah came along, he was invading the Earth. And Godzilla was challenging him because, they all want to be the alpha predator or the alpha titan. So he's never really done anything in the last 2 movies to really be a superhero or anything. I mean, his whole motivation in this movie was to find and fight Mechagodzilla. Whatever Apex was doing. And I think he probably sensed it due to the fact that it's Ghidorah's skull in there, controlling him. But, yeah, I mean, he wasn't thinking, hey, this is a threat to humanity, I better save them. It was more like, hey, this is a threat to me and my throne. I'm going to kick his ass.
Well,
Kong just kind of like, there he was, and they had the ancient rivalry.
They've scaled these monsters up to such ridiculous sizes now that it's impossible for them to engage with humanity or enter a city without killing hundreds or thousands of people anyway. So, when you look at like all the activity that they're doing in the cities, they snap a bridge. Well, there's a few thousand people or 100 people that die. They knock over a building again. There's hundreds or thousands of people dying. So, now that they're all big as skyscrapers. I mean, you think about where Kong started. He was like 30 feet tall, when he first started. And then I think by the second movie, he was supposed to be 50 or 60 feet. Now he's, hundreds of feet tall. So it's almost impossible for them to interact with us without killing us. So how could they care about, people?
Unless you know sign language. Then...
Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, if you're out taking a walk, you don't intentionally want to stomp on the bugs and stuff that are on the ground, but you're not consciously avoiding them,
Right.
It's like you're not saving them from birds coming in and swooping them up or something. I mean, same kind of thing. He's there. He's taking care of his King of the Monsters business, and we just happen to be on the opposite side of whoever he's fighting at the moment.
I can understand that. I think Kong had more of a relationship other than that little girl. I mean, I don't know that he went out of his way not to sit on people or, when he got tossed around Hong Kong. But I don't know. I mean...
yeah. Well, he's a mammal.
He's a mammal. And what was the original Kong versus Godzilla? And they compared their brain sizes.
Right.
Let me ask you, both of you, as far as, and I know they have like mocap, actors doing the mocap for Godzilla and for Kong. Are you okay with the mocap versions, the digital versions of the kaiju, or do you miss the old, man in a suit version of Kong or Godzilla or whatnot?
Well, I think the times we're in, it's going to be CG. I mean, I don't think it's even an option to have a man in a suit. Now, They do have TJ Storm with the green outfit and the ping pong balls or whatever acting as Godzilla. So there is an element of that. There is an actor behind the CG.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as having someone in a suit, I mean, you couldn't pull this movie off with guys in suits.
Yeah.
Well, not the size of the battles that they had,
or just the moves, or
it's more acrobatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of is what it is. I mean, yes, people are wanting men in suits still, but I mean, even if Toho goes back to making Godzilla movies, I mean, Shin Godzilla was not a man in a suit. That was CG as well. So the man in the suit days, I think, are long gone as far as Godzilla is concerned.
I will say I miss it. I guess that's the nostalgic part of me, but I do appreciate, I mean, look, even, Superman or Spider-Man or Iron Man, there's CG elements to those characters flying around and doing battle. So yeah, I can appreciate this is the way that Hollywood works now. It was impressive as all get out, though. I mean, I really liked those fight scenes, and Godzilla swimming in the ocean like that, and it kind of reminded me like an alligator almost. The way it was like swinging his tail around and stuff. I think this version of Godzilla is one of my favorites. He's just a tough-looking mofo.
Larry, though, talking about the CGI, one of the things, though, it's funny you bring this up, because when I was watching it, there were moments where I felt like, oh, this is very man-in-suit-like. Some of the ways that the characters looked or moved, and maybe that's getting back to the motion capture, and some of the design elements, not just of Godzilla and Kong, but some of the other creatures, the smaller creatures that they fought or the humans encountered. It reminded me of some of the man-in-suit stuff we'd seen in other movies. And I don't know, I just like that they kind of captured some of the old-time flavor of the films. It was really, I don't know. It was. I think there was a lot of fan-pleasing. Of course, there was a lot of call-outs to things in past movies, too.
Yeah, I agree. There were some Godzilla moments where it was like, oh, okay, that looks like Godzilla. And obviously Kong, they did a great job with him in this movie. I'll have to watch it again. The whole battle axe, he used it so expertly as a tool, as a weapon, even as a shield. But then again, he's smarter, than your average monster, I guess. So
it's his Swiss Army weapon.
Well, I mean, if you look back at Kong, King Kong vs. Godzilla in 1962, I mean, Kong took a few blasts from his ray. He got a little scorched, but I'm under the impression that if Kong didn't have his axe and took a few shots from this Godzilla's ray, he probably would have just been done right then.
I agree with you. I was kind of surprised how powerful this ray has become. And isn't there any residual fallout or anything? I mean, he drilled a hole to the center of the earth. Most of the movie, I turned my brain off. I said, I'm not going to think critically about it. But that was the one kiss my ass moment, because when Godzilla drills a hole all the way down through the earth to the hollow earth, it's like, okay, guys, I will believe in a giant radioactive dinosaur, a giant ape, hollow earth, all this stuff. But him, drilling a hole all the way through the earth, it was kind of like, I don't know. Come on. That was a little much. Yeah, but then it was cool when Kong jumped out and started kicking butt. So it was kind of like, okay, brain off again. Yeah, pretty much. And the whole, I love the whole hollow earth theory. I've read stuff about it. It's one of my favorite pseudoscience things. If they do it on Ancient Aliens, I love to watch it. But there was a lot of goofy stuff around that too. And I guess now they've found a way that, Kong can rule over the hollow earth and Godzilla can rule over the surface world, and they can be the two apex, or not, whatever it is, the two top alpha titans. Yeah. It took me a minute to realize that the axe was one of Godzilla's, or one of the ancient Godzilla's dorsal fins. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, all right. That's
why I was absorbing the ray and doing all the other things.
That was cool. I also, it was like, okay, he's Kong. And then he sat on the throne, and it's like, oh, he's King Kong. Mm-hmm. He's the king
never really call him King Kong in any of the movies. At least not yet.
Is that a issue that Toho has, or is it an issue or they just decided that at some point they'll make him king in the film series, or what? Do we know?
Well, I'm trying to think. In King of the Monsters, did they ever say King Ghidorah, or did they just say Ghidorah?
I think they just said Ghidorah. I don't recall King.
Yeah, they also called him Monster Zero, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
But when they did call him Ghidorah, I think they just said Ghidorah. So
I believe so.
There's not a King Ghidorah. There's not a King Kong. Yeah, it's not King Godzilla. It's just Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So I think just they would refer to like the Alpha Titan as king, and right now it's Godzilla. But it's interesting because Godzilla beat Kong. Kong technically beat Mechagodzilla, who was beating Godzilla's ass. So then how does that work,
Well, Godzilla was pretty spent. He kicked Kong's butt, and then he started going after this like Mechagodzilla thing that, he was, his battery's running a little low there.
Oh.
So Kong came in with the assist.
Well, it's true. Kong had a nap, so.
Hey, Kong's heart was almost stopped, so he was almost dead. But then he came back and beat Mechagodzilla, so.
Yeah, with a little George Jetson ship that.
Yeah, I think those were kind of a nod to the old Super X.
I thought so too. Yeah.
But there were some little Easter eggs here and there.
Well, they carried Kong in the net.
Yeah.
Up to the.
It's funny because a lot of people are putting online that that was a homage to King Kong versus Godzilla, but in King Kong versus Godzilla they used balloons, right? King Kong escapes. They used helicopters.
Right.
So it was more of a homage to King Kong escapes than it was King Kong versus Godzilla. At that point, he did shove the axe in his mouth, the axe handle in his mouth. That was a nod to the 62 film where Kong stuck the tree into Godzilla's mouth.
All right. Oh, that's the other thing, too. I loved how this movie just opened up with Kong. Boom. Doing this thing with the little girl and then made that tree into a javelin. And it was like, God, the action just like started right out of the gate.
Well, he did that in Skull Island, too. Picked up the tree and just with one, sweep of his hand, just sheared off all the branches. But
yeah, he's a tool user.
Yeah, I like that we didn't have to wait like a half hour. Typically in a Godzilla movie, you're like 45 minutes in before something major happens, other than a rumble or a foot stomp.
And who knew that Kong was into 60s pop?
Well, he got to hear a lot of it from those the soldiers that came over in the 70s after Vietnam, right? Who tried to.
That's right.
Although Kong Skull Island, I mean, they used more 60s rock. So you had like the Doors and you had some of the other stuff that they played. This one, it was like the Hollies and Bobby Vinton, and I think there's all this in there.
They're trying to keep him mellow. They don't want to rile him up.
That's right. He didn't really have a song that went with his action scenes. It was all just his hanging out and walking around and scratching his butt scenes.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked was the villains' deaths in this movie. I mean, they were like very, very well done.
Well, yeah. I mean, Mechagodzilla basically broke free of his controls pretty quick in this one.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about the telling the kids, "Oh, my Mechagodzilla," and then swipe, and there he goes out of the control room, and his daughter got it good too.
Now, with Mechagodzilla breaking control from the pilot, were you guys thinking that it was just the computer? Were you thinking that it had something to do with the Ghidra control system implants or whatever? I'm not sure if we were supposed to think that, Ghidra was somehow, that intelligence was controlling Mechagodzilla or what.
Well, they were saying that Ghidra's 3 heads were the necks are so long and the heads are so far apart that they had to use telepathy to communicate with each other. And so when they got the severed Ghidra head, and I don't know why they just used the skull, but they used the skull as the conduit for Ren Serizawa to control Mechagodzilla as the quote pilot. But he was not inside Mechagodzilla though. He was inside the Ghidra skull, down in somewhere in the control room there. But yeah, he was thwarted very quickly. And they didn't really go into him much. I mean, he's supposed to be the son of Dr. Serizawa, who sacrificed himself in King of the Monsters. But, at one point they said, this is Ren Serizawa, but they didn't really go any further to explain his lineage or background or whatever.
Like if his dad seemed very, in a way, supportive of Godzilla, and yet he seems very opposed to the Titans.
Well, see, I said he could have fleshed it out a bit.
Yeah.
He admitted that, maybe he blamed Godzilla for his father's death, even though his father, sacrificed himself. It was still Godzilla that, he could blame for the death, which is why he would be going after it. Who knows? Could be in scenes that were cut out or something, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch these movies for the human parts, and truth be told, a lot of times I'll fast forward through them, but at least the first time through, I want to understand what the story is supposed to be. And yeah, there weren't a lot of like real engaging human characters in this. I mean, I thought the whole scientist and with the Hollow Earth, and then the other scientist with the sign language was kind of interesting. The kids and the podcaster guy, I really couldn't care less about, but the other group was kind of interesting. So it was very, hit or miss for me on that part.
Well, looking back at Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, the film in the 2000s, 2003, it was handled a little better. I mean, Mechagodzilla was built around the skeleton of the original Godzilla. So you had the skeleton, you had the DNA, and when he and Godzilla faced off, and Godzilla roared, he recognized that roar, and it like triggered memories and set him out. He was supposed to be controlled by humans to fight Godzilla, but he went out and just started destroying Tokyo. And there was nothing they could do until his power ran out, and he was just standing there. But with this one, there's no real explanation why Mechagodzilla became his own being, I guess.
Well, two things, Walker. For the love of God, you couldn't have fast-forwarded through the Daijumon villagers scenes and Daimajin, sorry.
Now those stories, those are interesting stories. I know. I know. You slept through it, but
they're basically samurai films, and then Daimajin shows up at the end.
With samurai films with a monster at the end.
It was a good nap that afternoon. Second thing, where's the third Ghidra head? So there's one inside the Mechagodzilla, one that Kurosawa was sitting in when he got lambasted. Where's the third Ghidra head, or will we have to wait till the next movie?
Well, there were only two after King of the Monsters. There was one that got severed, and then he grew another head back, and that severed one was the one that showed up at the end of the movie. But Godzilla basically vaporized Ghidra at the end of King of the Monsters, so there is no third head.
I guess I have to watch that again. He vaporized the whole... Oh, okay. Never mind.
I'll have to watch that again.
Because I don't think I saw it again after the meltdown and just exploded, and that was it. Then they had the one. Then you see one of Ghidra's heads come up out of the ground, and then you realize that it's actually in Godzilla's mouth. And he shoots his ray and destroys the head. Because you think Ghidra, he survived, but no, it's just Godzilla had his head in his mouth, or his neck in his mouth.
All right. Thanks for the clarification on that, Chief.
So, what did you guys think when they go to the Hollow Earth? Kong jumps up and goes onto the other side with all the purple rocks and stuff. And then he finds, basically this indoor amphitheater, but built to his size, right?
Yeah.
And the throne, like you were talking about, Larry, there's a throne there. So basically, I don't know, is the implication that his people were capable of building this kind of a structure? Or did humans or somebody like humans build it for them? I mean, there's a lot of stuff here
it's supposed to be his ancestors that lived there. Now, they never really explained who built it.
Right.
That was a pretty intricate mechanism for him to charge up the axe, and, a big symbol of Godzilla starts glowing.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as they got down there, the first thing I thought was Pellucidar.
Oh, yeah. So, Edgar Rice Burroughs did a lot of Hollow Earth stuff, too. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to figure out, was it androids, aliens, or wizards?
Well, no aliens in this one.
I assume it's the same people or beings that built Godzilla's kingdom or castle or whatever from the last film.
Well, that was just,
Maybe it's
that was just an
Atlantis.
ancient underwater city that was in ruins.
Yeah.
And it had radioactivity down there, which is why you would go down there to recharge or recuperate.
Maybe next movie we'll get like a UFO showing up.
Maybe.
Really, I think it really depends on how this movie does. Because I know Toho's excited to get back to making Godzilla movies again. So I don't know if Legendary is going to continue after this or not. They can continue with Kong because they own him. But they licensed Godzilla and Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra and whoever else. So it really depends. I guess it's Toho's decision whether or not to renew a contract or renegotiate.
Well, financially, they did good the first day. They made like a third of their money back. I forget how many millions of dollars. So they are on track to whatever their projections are over the weekend.
Yeah, it did really well in China.
So, yeah.
See, I don't know how HBO Max translates into dollar figures for the movies that are showing on there.
Subscribers.
Yeah.
Right, but how do you know they're subscribing for Godzilla vs. Kong and not for the Snyder Cut or not for Wonder Woman or not for something else down the line?
How many people subscribe this week? How many people cancel next week? I don't know. It's beyond me.
It is, it's a brave new world, certainly for film distribution and movie theaters and figuring out how this is all going to work going forward.
Well, I think as the vaccine gets out there, I mean, Warner Brothers already decided they're not going to do this kind of thing in 2022. So it's sort of a 2021 experiment. And then they'll go back to theaters, I assume, unless we have another pandemic. But there is another Godzilla movie coming out this year. It's Godzilla Singular Point, which will be coming to Netflix. I know what month, but I can't say. But later this year.
No.
Later
Animated?
Animated, yeah.
Oh,
and
no. I've heard bad things about those animated Godzilla.
Oh, no. Those three are a total waste of time. This one is totally different.
And how do we know this, Chief?
Go look at the trailers. Plus, I've been talking to Toho, so.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's out in Japan now. So people are starting to watch it, at least over there.
I guess the ultimate test on this movie is when the Blu-ray comes out. A show of hands, who's going to buy it? No, just kidding. This is not one of our all video episodes that we show on YouTube, which we'll talk about later on. But Karen and Bob, will you buy the Blu-ray DVD combo package of this film when it's released?
Yeah. I mean,
I might.
Why not? Jeez. I got all the other ones. I'll be buying the 4K Blu-ray digital version.
I like that. Yeah, why not? Jeez.
Well, I mean,
I gotta get a good sale.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I was talking with Bob offline. Mondo's coming out with all kinds of stuff. I got the Tiki mug, but I didn't get the Godzilla figure. And Bob was like, "Of course, yes, I got it.
I did order it."
So
it's, I don't know. I can't remember when it's coming out, but I have some time.
Oh, you know, Mondo.
Some shelf space.
Yeah, could come out in a month, could come out in a year. Who knows?
Well, I mean, I just posted. I mean, I got my Christmas present like day before yesterday because it was a Mondo Creature from the Black Lagoon that Debbie bought me, and she's like, I bought it and I didn't realize that, hey, it's Mondo, so you don't get it for like 6 months.
Right.
I order stuff. I think we talked about this on the show before. I order stuff from Mondo and then I totally forget I ordered it, and like 6, 7, 8 months down the line, a surprise shows up in the mail. Or people start getting it, and I'm like, man, I wish I ordered that. And then all of a sudden it comes in the mail. It's like, oh, I did order that. Thanks, Mondo.
Well, I had gotten that Mondo creature through Sideshow.
Oh, really?
So I was able to use some of my sideshow points to bring that monumental price down a little bit.
Well, I know you guys aren't. You're bigger Godzilla fans than King Kong fans, but Shout Factory has the 76 King Kong
the
Blu-ray with all sorts of nice extra features on pre-order. I just pre-ordered that a week or two ago.
As did I.
And okay, so
I pre-ordered that baby about a month ago.
Okay.
I'm getting the poster.
Yes, nice.
I'm not
nice
getting a poster. I've got too many posters and not enough wall space. So
just put it over some stuff.
You know what you tell me, Chief? Just squeeze it together till you can get one more thing in there.
Yeah, I can't squeeze posters together. Those are too damn big.
And then you put it over and you can just flip it up and look at what's underneath. And
I need like one of those poster flip bins like they used to have at Tower Records and stuff.
Hey, you just rotate things like a gallery. First 3 months of the year it's these, and next 3 is that.
Oh my God!
I will buy it. In fact, I have the novelization on order. I have the art of Godzilla vs. Kong on order. And, damn if I could find any of the toys at Walmart, but...
Who wrote the novelization? Was it Alan Dean Foster?
No. I don't know who wrote it. I just got a shipping notice on it. I could probably tell you here in a minute.
Well, back in the day, he wrote everything. It's late. I'm messing around with you guys.
Tuesday. And let's see. Novelization by Greg Keyes. Keyes.
Don't know him.
Never heard of him.
Do a good job, Greg.
Well, I know one thing Bob didn't get, and that's the movie poster of...
I will probably get... I usually get the main one sheet, but not... there were many variations of posters, and now you've got the bus stop posters that are in the bus stop kiosks or whatever.
Hey, just throw it on the side of your house, Bob.
Yeah, no problem. It'll last until the first rain, and then there it goes.
Well, that's cool. Actually, Bob, I'm a little curious about the Netflix, because like you were saying, the first 3 were not that great, but you're saying
Go
this
ahead,
one...
terrible, say it.
Terrible. Well, what's that?
They were terrible. Go ahead and say it. Terrible.
But is this done by a different company or a different set of animators, I should say?
It is. And, if you look at the trailers, you've got Godzilla, you've got Jet Jaguar, you've got Gabara, you've got Kamonga, you've got quite a few Rodans in there. There's quite a few monsters. The last 3 that were on Netflix, like Planet of Monsters and whatever, I was very critical of because they were really sleepers, totally boring. And it's like, well, look, you've got animation. You don't have to worry about budget. You could have 100,000 monsters in there. It doesn't matter. It's just, you just draw more in, or paint more in, or CG more in, whatever they're going to do. But that was my main complaint about those other movies. That and the fact that, like, when Godzilla was fighting Ghidorah, I was on the phone with my friend Kevin, and I was watching it, and I said, Godzilla and Ghidorah have been fighting for about 10 or 15 minutes now, and neither one has moved. It was just like still fighting. But no, this one, I think they learned their lesson. I think this is like their answer to the others, to the other 3, and they're going to do something more exciting. Obviously, more monsters. Because if you look at the second one of the other trilogy, the second one featured Mechagodzilla, but Mechagodzilla was just a big city. He wasn't even in the movie. So
it's weird.
Terrible stuff. But I think the new one's going to be more exciting. Give it a few months, it'll be out on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm going to look for the trailer. I will say, because we have some things to talk about at the end of this episode, I will say I did miss the Godzilla March. They came close to it a couple times.
Yeah, they had like a variant.
Yeah. I also, getting back to the Force of Nature, and Bob, I can't think of the movie. I know you'll be able to name it, but there was a Toho Godzilla where the eyes were white. And
Godzilla,
Baragon, I think, was in it.
King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack.
Yes, I loved that. And it wasn't that Godzilla was necessarily bad, but he did get back to that force of nature type concept from the original, or like in the original film. This one kind of felt that way. His eyes, they didn't like turn white, but that blue iridescence, it was like very ominous,
That was cool.
Yeah, that was kind of confusing because they didn't do that in the other movies. So it's suddenly like, that's why like people were watching trailers and his eyes are glowing in Hong Kong. They thought, he must be Mechagodzilla. Like the first Mechagodzilla movie where, he was stomping around in Godzilla's skin and then he, revealed himself. That was sort of the theory of what was going to happen here, but obviously it did not. But I think the glow, was just a progression as the glow went up his spines. Yeah, it kind of went into his eyes and his mouth, and then he would.
Yeah, I halfway thought we'd get a burning Godzilla, kind of like the Meltdown. I thought maybe they were going to go there, but they didn't, and that's cool.
I thought Godzilla and Kong were going to like shake hands at the end too, but they didn't.
Well, they kind of sort of gave that, and then walk away.
Well, I think like Kong picks up the axe. And then Godzilla takes a couple steps forward, and then he's like, puts the axe into the ground, like, okay, no, I don't want any of this.
Right.
And they had
the mutual respect moment.
They had Godzilla swim off, and in the 60s version, it was Kong who swam away, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Godzilla swam away, and then Kong went back to Hollow Earth and listened to the Hollies.
I thought for sure, I waited for that bonus scene. I thought he would go through the trees or what's that, Bob?
Like a post-credit scene?
Like a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Go through the trees or go up a mountain and there would be a female Kong. But they chose not to go there. So.
And then Kong was so damaged in the battle he had to get a pacemaker.
And Linda Hamilton showed up.
That's right. Then we get a nice remake of King Kong Lives.
He just takes that axe and pushes it on his chest.
Any last thoughts or words, my friends, about this film?
I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to what they do. They started creating this little mythology, and I'm interested to see where they go next and what other monsters they'll introduce. They've brought in some of the heavy hitters already, but there's a lot more they could do. And with Kong, they could, like Bob's saying, they could come up with all sorts of original ideas. Now they've got him in this Hollow Earth, so they don't even have to worry about him wrecking cities or whatever. They could bring in all kinds of monsters and ancient ruins and all kinds of crazy stories. So, there's a lot of potential for both of those characters.
Well, I was kind of wondering if maybe that's why they focus so much on Kong in this movie. Because, like I say, if Toho doesn't want to negotiate and they go back to making their own movies, then I assume that Legendary would continue on with Kong films.
I don't know. I mean, you talk to Toho more than I do, Bob. I would think that they're making good money off of their IP. And but Godzilla is so much a part of Toho, so I could see them saying, "Yeah, we're going to do our own films," and thank you very much, for the time we had Legendary.
Well, it was funny because Toho announced that they were going to do their own universe. Huh. And if you think about it, it's like they already did that. What were all these other Godzilla movies they had out? That was a universe. And, they're talking about doing like a Godzilla film and a Mothra film and a Rodan film and then bringing them all together, kind of like the MCU did, but...
They've done that.
They did it, yeah. And hell, Universal did that back in the 30s and 40s. And
I was going to say, it's like they're going to build a Universal universe, and it's like, you already did.
Well, everybody wants their universe.
Yeah.
They all want their MCU. And not a lot of companies have been successful doing it.
Yeah.
So, can Toho or will Legendary continue?
We'll see. I hope if Legendary does, I want some aliens. I want aliens wanting to come to Earth, wanting to borrow Godzilla and King Kong to go fight, King Caesar or Baragon or something on the moon.
Well, that's when Gigan would have to come in.
Oh, there you go, Gigan. I don't know. Well, something fun,
Well, I mean, if you would have told me back when they did Godzilla 2014 that in future films you'd see Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra and then he'd fight Kong, it's like, oh, are you crazy? But they did it. The only question is, can they keep doing it?
Yeah. I'd still like to see their version of a Mecha King Ghidorah or a Mecha Ghidorah, because they don't call him King, but I don't know. We will I guess we'll see.
I always tell people, you want to see that stuff? Go watch the old movies.
Yeah.
It's already there for everyone.
Well, look, we have some great news here on Planet 8. We have reached the 100 plus member plateau over on our YouTube channel. So now you can just go to youtube.com/Planet 8 podcast and access our video episodes. Some of them all video. The AIP video we did earlier with Lord Bloodraw is a lot of fun. We're getting a lot of good comments on that. So hopefully you guys, you're already keeping track of our planet8podcast.com site, and you can add the Twitter site and the Facebook site, and now YouTube. You can get all up in our business.
Yeah, some of the videos were moving, some were standing still.
And some, like the Outer Limits, just have a life of their own.
It's just amazing, I tell you. This week's Censor Sweep, Chief, we have a memoriam to share. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, well, I've got some good news and bad news. I guess I'll start with the bad news first. Those listeners who are familiar with Cleve Hall, you may have seen him as the Monster Man on Sci-Fi. He's also been behind the scenes on hundreds of movies, all going all the way back to like Reanimator and a bunch of others. He was, a monster maker, basically. Big fan of everything. He even made, tying into this episode, he even made the Godzilla and Ghidorah suits for Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, wow.
Pee-wee goes biking through the studio, and they're shooting a Godzilla movie, and he made those suits. Anyway,
I always thought that those were borrowed from Toho. They looked that good.
Yeah, he did a good job. But unfortunately, he has passed away at the age of 61. Earlier in the week that we're recording this, he had a heart attack. And he had had some strokes previously, so his heart just wasn't strong enough to bounce back on this one. So just, kind of looking back, he showed up at our first Godzilla Fest just as a fan. I remember he walked up to me, he goes, "Hi, I'm Cleve. I built the suits, the Godzilla and Ghidorah suits for Pee-wee." Oh, okay. And then he was a guest at another one of our shows. And that was kind of funny. The funny thing about that was he he showed up early. He had his grandkids with him, and our shows tend to be family oriented. And I was talking to him in the lobby for like a half hour before he was supposed to go on stage, and everything was cool. And then as soon as he gets on stage, it's F this and F that and F that. I'm like, oh man. I guess I should have said something to him, but I figured
I was at that show. That was funny.
But yeah, no. And then another time at Monsterpalooza, my daughter really wanted to meet him. She was watching Monster Man, and she was dying to meet him. I told her, well, he's not a guest, but he's always walking around. I'm sure you'll run into him somewhere. And so it was like late in the day, and she and her husband, then boyfriend, decided they were going to go back to the hotel because they were tired. I'm like, okay, go on back. So I was hanging out, and maybe 10 minutes after they left, here comes Cleve walking down the dealer's room. So I'm like, hey, Cleve, come over here. We got to take a selfie. I got to send it to my daughter. She's been looking for you all day. So I had to send that to her and say, hey, look who I ran into. But and then another time, he was doing a haunted house up in Northern California at a old abandoned railroad station. They gave him a part of it. They had a huge haunted house, took up the whole thing, but they gave him part to do his thing. And he called me up. I was working in an AV company at the time. He called me up to get a camera, and I had to get a broadcast camera down to him. And he shot his parts that he was going to do on this rear screen. And it was pretty cool. He had his homemade monster suits. It was a pretty cool effect that he did when we went to the actual haunted house. Like I say, big fan, would hang out at Monsterpalooza a lot, come to our shows, and it was just a shock, really, to see the notice the other day that he had passed away.
So young.
So if I go on to better news.
Better news.
As the pandemic is lightening up a bit and people are getting their vaccines, and movie theaters are starting to open again, Bay Area Film Events, my other group, we're going to do Godzilla's Monster Bash to open up the Balboa Theater in San Francisco. So the opening weekend of the theater, which will be May 14th, 15th, 16th, we're going to do 10 Godzilla movies rotating. We'll have vendors, we'll have prizes, all the good stuff. And we're going to be celebrating the 60th anniversary of Mothra and the 50th anniversary of Godzilla vs. Hedorah, also known as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. So those movies will definitely be running, as well as others. The original Godzilla, Mothra vs. Godzilla, Ebirah Horror of the Deep, Godzilla vs. Gigan, All Monsters Attack, quite a few films. We're even going to squeeze the X from Outer Space in there. And I'm sure people have not seen that on the big screen. So that'll be a treat for everybody. But that'll be May 14th, 15th, 16th. Just go to Bay Area Film Events /Monster Bash, and we'll have all the information there, as well as links to the tickets. Unfortunately for this show, we can't do weekend passes. We have to do individual movie tickets because the theater has to sanitize the auditorium in between films. So you got to buy individual tickets, but it'll be a blast.
Hey, after everything that we've all gone through in the last year, just to be able to get out and enjoy something like that, it'll be fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my partner Bob Bavon and I, we were commenting that last year was the first year in 15 years that we did not do one show. So we got Godzilla in May. We're going to do our regular Godzilla Fest in August. That's going to be 2 weekends back to back. But we'll talk about that more as we get closer to that date.
That sounds great. Okay, well, that takes us to the end of this episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
On that note, this will conclude this transmission from Planet 8. We would like to thank all of our intergalactic audience for listening. Be sure to head on over to our website at www.planet8podcast.blogspot.com, where you can get more information on this episode's topic.
For more conversation, find us on Twitter at Planet8Cast.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Planet8Podcast.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every episode. We look forward to your input and opinions. Until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. End transmission.
By George, he's got it. It is the end. No more. I'm sick of Godzilla.
I think it stinks.
This is it, George. Steve Martin signing off from Tokyo, Japan.